In another example of taxpayer-funded state violence, we turn to the state of Arkansas, where one good citizen recorded the police. Alas, here was the result. 2 of the 3 Leos are with the Crawford County Sheriff's Department, and their deputies brutalized this man. They mauled him. The officer in the middle, who NBC reports is with the Mulberry Police Department, appears to be holding the man down while his fellow policemen punch, knee, then maneuver and grab the man's head, repeatedly knocking it into the concrete. Then an officer throws a hammer fist. One officer on his feet appears to kick the man. Once this person behind the camera is up, the deputies appear to swear at them and point in their direction. The video then proceeds to cut off.
Incident took place Sunday morning outside of a convenience store. At the end of the video, one of the officers appears to point at the camera. Throughout the day, police had been on the lookout for the suspect, identified as 27-year-old Randall Worcester of South Carolina, after he allegedly spit on a store clerk and made what officers called terroristic threats in a nearby town. While it is unclear what happened before the start of the video, Worcester was quickly transported to an area hospital and was later released and taken into custody. His condition is unclear. Worcester is now facing a slew of charges, including battery, resisting arrest, and refusal to submit.
CNN reports that all 3 officers have been removed from duty and are under investigation for their role in the nonstop beating of the South Carolina man. Crawford County Sheriff Jimmy DeMonte told CNN affiliate KHBS that the suspect was wanted for allegedly threatening a gas station clerk in a neighboring town. When he was spotted in Mulberry, DeMonte said the man was initially cooperative, but then, this is their words and their allegations of what happened, so take it with a grain of salt, they say the man tried to attack the officers, leading to this confrontation. The sheriff told KHBS that the suspect was examined at a hospital, then booked into jail, while a deputy received minor head injuries during the altercation. Again, their words, grain of salt. The incident occurred at about 10:40 a.m. Sunday outside a convenience store in Mulberry in Crawford County. Mulberry is located near Arkansas's western border with Oklahoma and about 140 miles northwest of Little Rock. Worcester is accused of threatening an employee and pushing and punching a deputy in the back of the head after being confronted, according to the AP. Third time I'm saying this, grain of salt. Worcester was sent to the hospital. He is being charged with second-degree battery, resisting arrest, refusal to submit, possessing an instrument of crime, criminal trespass, criminal mischief, terroristic threatening, and second-degree assault, state police said. Time will prevail with these, but once again, this is what they're charging him with. We really need to be patient with this because, well, cops lie. State police have said they are opening a use of force investigation and will submit their findings to the Crawford County prosecutor, who will determine whether the use of force by the law enforcement officers was consistent with Arkansas law. Reaction has been swift from the highest levels of state government, though the Arkansas governor commented on what he said was an arrest incident. Okay. As of this taping, the officers have not yet been identified, though, as we mentioned, they have been suspended, which feels light. As for the officer from Mulberry, his department said in a statement the city of Mulberry and the Mulberry PD takes these investigations very seriously and holds their officers accountable for their actions. Representatives for statewide law enforcement organizations that represent rank-and-file officers and deputies didn't immediately respond to requests for comment, which is an indication, knowing the history of instances like this, they are likely buying time to get their story straightened out. The Arkansas Times reported the woman who filmed this video sent it to her sister, Naomi Johnson, who then shared it across social media. Johnson, who lives in neighboring Oklahoma, said her sister was too upset to talk about it, but she shared what her sister told her. A shoeless man was sitting on the curb and talking with law enforcement officers when she arrived at the gas station. Johnson said her sister reported. The man stood up like he was going to run away, and the officers tackled him. Johnson said her sister thought the man seemed to be in mental distress. Johnson's sister and a friend who was in the car with her can be heard yelling at the officers. While the audio is difficult to make out, it sounds like one officer yells at her to back the F up and another tells her to get back in her car. While the captured footage certainly doesn't tell the whole story, it's hard to see how a shoeless, mentally distressed man could warrant such brutality. Public Enemy's Chuck D has a simple rebuttal to all of that. Alec Karakatsanis, founder and executive director of Civil Rights Corps, wrote this: "What is shown in the Arkansas police beating video is utterly normal. It's what dozens of my own clients and their families described to me over the years. Everyone who works in the system knows about it." After Rodney King called for accountability, we got the '94 crime bill. After George Floyd, some Democrats are now pushing for another 100,000 more militarized cops, just as reproductive health is criminalized. When a reasonable person takes all the evidence, they cannot conclude that the profitable government and corporate bureaucracy of punishment has either the purpose or effect of keeping us safe. One thing above all is true: we must shrink its size. Just look at each local police budget the year after the most prominent police murders of black people from the last several decades. Every single time, local city councils immediately gave police more money. The bureaucracy expands and never becomes less violent.
Early on Tuesday in Columbus, Ohio, police shot an unarmed black man, warning that this footage is graphic. The man in this video who was shot and killed by the police is Donovan Lewis. He was 20 years old. The police went to the residence with a dog to pursue a warrant for mishandling a firearm, assault, and domestic violence. They were greeted by two of the people who were at the apartment, and they asked if there was anyone else in the apartment, and that's when they went to the bedroom. You can see that the officer shot pretty much as soon as the door was opened. Reports from people on the scene say that he had a vape pen next to him. Local news ran this headline: "They say that he reached back behind his pillow, and now we know that he was putting a vape pen down that was next to him in bed." We can hear that the officer fired the weapon well before we had a chance to even see what was going on in the room, let alone see him put down a vape pen or reach behind the pillow. Donovan Lewis was shot within 1 second of that Officer Anderson opening the door. Police Chief Bryant said that there's an ongoing investigation, and despite reviewing the footage, the officer has not been suspended. You can hear the police officer ask Ricky Anderson to turn off his body camera, so we're not really sure what went down here after this point. This video started circulating on Twitter, and people started wondering, why were the police there? What kind of guy was this? Was he violent? What was he being arrested for? And none of that really even matters, because the police were there to make an arrest because he was accused of a crime. He did not have a trial yet. The police's role is not to murder citizens. This is a police officer taking it upon himself to again execute a citizen who was an unarmed black man. And even if this person, Donovan Lewis, was found guilty of a crime, there is no capital punishment currently in the state of Ohio. He couldn't even get the death penalty if he was guilty of a crime. Unfortunately, civil rights attorneys who handle cases like this are all too busy because this happens all too often.